For today's driven episode, we're gonna switch it up a little bit, and I'm gonna share with you my meal prep for the week. This is coming into the final week of the Driven series. If you're thinking today was supposed to be the day of the final episode, yeah, switched it up on you. In case you missed my community post, I was feeling a little under the weather, so I needed to listen to my body. So we're just gonna do a meal prep video for today. This is what's gonna get me back on track for the final week and see where my results are. So stay tuned for that video. Today, I'm gonna go through breakfast, lunch, and dinner, what I'm making. These are gonna be my meals for the entire week. These are meals that are not only gonna support my health, my immune system, but also my goals with weight loss and with feeling my best. And when I say feeling my best, I also mean doing what I can in effort to feel as satisfied as possible while being in a cut. So I really have nailed that down, and I want to share with you some of these recipes today that are rather quick and easy to prepare that you may like. So we're gonna start first with breakfast. I made up a little list for myself. We got the groceries. This is ultimately mostly a Trader Joe's haul. There's a couple things I already had at home, but essentially we're meal prepping Trader Joe's style. So if you do have a Trader Joe's near you, that is one thing I like about it, is they have a lot of great healthy items that are a little bit more convenient for you. You may be able to find them at your grocery store too, but I just find Trader Joe's really easy to kind of niche down into some fun, healthy meals and really save a lot of time. The first thing we're gonna make today for breakfast, this is gonna be my Weetabix bowl. You can't get Weetabix at Trader Joe's, but take a look, because this is more of a UK type item, but you can find it in US grocery stores. I find it in the cereal aisle of basic stores here in New York. I've had some girls tell me they've bought cases of it off Amazon, need it in a recipe book. Stay tuned. But this is gonna be the main breakfast I wanna prep for this week. So I have a few breakfasts that I like to rotate through. I'm bringing this up because what can really help you on your weight loss goals or with meal prepping to make it less just kind of cumbersome and annoying is having your staple meals identified. So for me, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I have this rotation of what I call my arsenal for meals. These are my staples, my go-to meals that I know I enjoy, I know are nutritionally good for me, I know after eating them, I feel really good. So these are all things to pay attention to during your own journey to see what works best for you. So for me today, we are doing the Weetabix bowls. I'm gonna show you assembling that, but I have two other tools in my arsenal for breakfast. Number one is my Ghost pancake batter bowl. I'm not sharing that recipe here today, but I will have an Instagram reel with that recipe. It's probably live right now, so make sure you're following me over on Instagram and TikTok, because I post a lot of different stuff over there that you may not get here. That's another one that's been in rotation. The last one that I just started up today that went over very well was a little specialty toast with some Ezekiel bread, a little honey goat cheese, raspberries, and sliced almonds on top. It looks really fancy and it was quite delicious. So I like having a plan for the week. Even though you're prepping, whether you do it pen to paper like myself or in your phone, have some backup options for what you may need. Let's jump into the prep of the Weetabix bowl. This is really easy, and this is one that I like to enjoy after it's been chilled overnight. You don't have to do that. I just prefer it. Weetabix is a whole grain cereal. If you're not familiar with it, I'm gonna use 2 of these biscuits. High fiber, gives us a little bit of protein as well. They're already very crumbly, so we're just gonna make a mess up here in this kitchen today. That's all right. Just own it when you're meal prepping. It'll make your life quicker if you just own the mess and clean up afterwards. So 2 Weetabix. We're gonna go ahead and crush those up in the bowl. I have a couple of these recipes on my Instagram as well, but this is something you can really play around with. Why I like the Weetabix over anything else for this crust, if you will, kind of creates a pie crust, is the consistency of it turns out so good. So what I'm gonna do is add a little bit of our Chips Ahoy in Ghost. I'm gonna use this for the filling too, so you don't have to add it to the crust, but I've noticed just adding a little really makes the flavor and the texture that much better. But I'm not even gonna track this. I'm just gonna take like a little zhuzh of it into my crust. And then what we're gonna do is add just enough milk to give it that crust texture, the crust consistency. So I could measure this, but I've measured it before. I know about how much I use. So I'm just gonna do like a little zhuzh of it and just start mashing it all down together until it makes a nice crust consistency. This will end up being a bit higher of a carbohydrate breakfast, a little bit higher protein, depending on how much you add to it. I personally find what's helped keep me very successful because I always weight train first thing in the morning, and I typically weight train fasted. That's just what works best for me because I roll straight out of bed. So having a meal post-workout that is a bit higher in carbohydrates first thing in the morning, a bit higher in protein and fat, that nice balance of all three macronutrients plus fiber is what I always strive for. So if you're not tracking macros and you just want to think about your meal planning, that's how I would break it down, looking at your plate, looking at your meal, and seeing if you have all those components. This is what really just helps fill me up and keeps me satisfied for a bit. There is the perfect crust that I'm talking about. It looks good. It tastes even better after it's in the fridge for a bit. I've eaten this as quickly as 20 minutes after it's chilled in the fridge, or as long as 24 hours. So that is our crust. We're gonna set that aside. For the filling, we're gonna use our Ghost Chips Ahoy again, and we're gonna use some plain Greek non-fat yogurt for this, which makes this exceptionally high in protein. You can use really any flavor of protein powder you want for the center of it. I just have found with all the different Ghost protein I have, Chips Ahoy just tastes the best. Like it gives this cookie, cheesecake-like taste and texture. Let's see, I'm gonna do 150 grams of this Greek yogurt. This is one of those recipes you can modify a ton of ways depending on what flavor you're looking for. I've done a key lime pie one before where I just use the key lime pie yogurt. I like the plain Greek yogurt because adding in the scoop of Chips Ahoy to it, like I said, makes it taste like a cookie. This is so good. Ghost has seriously had, what am I gonna add, a half a scoop? I'm gonna do a half scoop actually. I get talking and then I don't even do what I wanna do. Half scoop of this should be roughly 20-ish grams. What I was gonna say is Ghost has had so many incredible launches, and they've got some really cool launches coming up. If you haven't been following their Instagram, they are launching a new sleep product. So it's a whole brand new product they haven't had before. I haven't received mine yet, but I'm super excited to try that out. We're just gonna stir this up into our little cheesecake mixture here. In addition, Max had been teasing Sour Strips stuff coming back. So if you're a Sour Strips fan, they're doing a whole line of Sour Strips. They're doing Intra. Legend V4. Intra is what you would drink during a workout. Sometimes I drink it after too because it just tastes so good. It's essential amino acids with a hydration complex. And then there's also Legend V4, which is their newer pre-workout, their version 4. By far my favorite, absolute favorite. The Bomb Pop, Red Berry. So good. So now we're just gonna dump our, see how it's like cheesecake? It's nice and thick, and it thickens up even more in the fridge. So we've got Sour Strips energy drink coming back, which was seriously one of my favorite flavors. And they're also doing the ready to drink hydration bottles too in the Sour Strips flavor. So those should be coming out soon in September. I think they're launching it with Max's birthday like they've done in the past. And it's coming up on a year that I've been with Ghost. September 1st was the start of my initial contract with them. So it's been a whole year. So I cannot say enough that it means the world to me when you guys tell me how much you like Ghost products and use my code to support me. It does get you 20% off. So that's a really, really nice deal. So anyways, stay tuned for that stuff. I like to do a lot of Ghost reviews for upcoming products usually in my Discord. I have a Ghost channel, and then also on my Instagram stories. So that's usually where you can find out what's coming up with Ghost. Now to top this, you can do a number of things. I'm gonna add raspberries. Raspberries are gonna add a nice amount of fiber to start our day in addition to the Weetabix. Fiber is so key for volume, to feel full. And that just helps with the weight loss. When we feel more full and have a higher fiber diet, keeps us satisfied for a lot longer versus eating a meal that includes no fiber in it. Plus, just the overall nutrition that we're getting when we eat. Most high fiber foods offer a good amount of nutrition because they're usually nutritious foods. So berries give us a lot of antioxidants. I'm gonna slice these up just for funsies. I know this is a little bit of an aggressive knife, but I'm gonna slice these up. Sometimes I've topped mine with granola if I want a little more carbs. I've also done melted dark chocolate. You can do just a little and it goes a long way. You might be thinking chocolate for breakfast, but yeah, do what works for you. A little bit of drizzled dark chocolate can be really nice, especially because it gets all cold in the fridge overnight. But we're just gonna do this big hunk of berries on top here. And I think this is gonna turn out so good. So breakfast is done. You could literally make 5 of these for the whole work week if you need to. I promise you, they will taste great in the fridge. They literally get better as the week goes on because I've prepped them for a whole week before. They taste really good. So that's a great breakfast go-to to prep for the week. I'm just gonna do the one for now. We're gonna move into lunch and dinner. In effort to be time efficient, we're gonna manage both of these at the same time. So the first thing that I wanna do for lunch is not to stray too far from my usual lunches because I like what I like and I know what I like. So we're gonna do some roasted veggies, which will take the longest. So I've already got the oven preheated. I basically want to do like a Nourish Bowl. So just things I love thrown in a bowl together. It always goes over well. This makes me think of Alpha Eats. Anytime I go down to Houston, I always go to Alpha Eats and get a make your own steak bowl with carne asada, and then I add in veggies and spinach and a little sugar-free barbecue sauce, and something about it always tastes so special. And I was thinking the last time I was down there, why don't I do those at home? Like, what is the reason why I don't make these at home? You ever get like that where it's just very simple recipes, but you don't think to just do it yourself? So it's essentially what I'm gonna recreate, except I'm not doing carne asada. I ate a lot of steak and red meat last week during my menstrual phase, being low energy, just making sure I was getting enough iron in my diet to support my energy levels. We're gonna do less red meat this week. I'm gonna do turkey for lunch and we're gonna do shrimp for dinner. So I ended up grabbing one of these mixed color cauliflower varieties, which just really spoke to me because sometimes I forget to just pick up cauliflower because it's so bland looking. And I love cauliflower. As long as I roast it in some oil, cook it long enough digestively, I can handle it. So you've got a few different colors of cauliflower here, which are essentially, depending on what colors you get, are gonna offer different levels of antioxidants. One thing I wanna say, I know I'm rather chatty today, but while I'm thinking about it, just from hosting and being the Grounds Inner Circle dietitian, it's really put a lot of things in perspective for me, as has Jason's own health. And one thing that I am so forever grateful for, at least up until this point of my life, is my ability to be able to have no food restrictions. And what I mean by that is most people, especially at my age, if you have any kind of medical conditions, you have to watch what you eat. For instance, diabetes is the #1 thing that comes to mind, but a lot of autoimmune issues, as we're now finding out, yes, I'm cutting these very small, can easily be flared up by the diet. So a lot of food intolerances, things like that, that honestly, when I went through college, they were not talked about. It was not part of the curriculum. It was, you either have an allergy or an intolerance. This is exactly what it looks like. If you didn't have celiac disease, you should be able to eat gluten with no issues. And you know, the world of integrative nutrition has really challenged that, thankfully, but it's easy for me to sit here and say to eat your fruits, eat your vegetables, eat all the whole grains. But I understand, depending on medically what you have going on, what's healthy for one is not healthy for everyone. Am I right? Which is why it's imperative, if you're working with someone on your nutrition, that you do work with someone who has the proper training, or at least has the understanding of where to find the information to best guide you. Because the general recommendations to eat high fiber and fruits and vegetables sometimes are exactly what's causing people issues. Sometimes we're eating too much of it. Depending on what you have going on in your gut microbiome, it may not be what's best for you. So I just think it's really important to think about these things versus always just looking at food as numbers, thinking about what food does for you and how it makes you feel is truly step number one. And it's not to say sometimes I don't eat foods that don't go over well with me, but I am very fortunate that at this point I can eat most foods without any issues. But let's give myself a little credit. I'm also someone who knows when I eat shit foods, for lack of a better term, and eat greasy foods, or I don't feel well. So that's a big part of my own personal why, that it's just not hard for me to not eat those foods, because I know it's not worth it at the end of it with how it makes me feel. The older I get, the more I'm just about feeling good. So I really want to encourage you to think about foods that taste good, of course, but also that make you feel your best. And what feels good for me may not feel good for you. I am going to load up this sheet pan here with my veggies, all the carrots, all the tiny chopped cauliflower. Try to make as little of a mess as possible. And I'm just gonna drizzle it with olive oil. I might add some garlic to it, but I might wait and do the garlic at the end, because thanks to Jason Corey's health journey, people are always like, Jason's so lucky, he's married to a dietitian. But honestly, what's funny is when you have health issues like Jason, well, at least not everyone's like Jason, so I should say this carefully, but he took his health into his own hands and did all his own research and really learned what works best for him and what could enhance his health. So for him, he did so much research, and I learned so much from him. Yeah, we definitely need olive oil soon. I learned so much from him because he just educated himself on so much, because he really just felt backed into a corner that if he didn't learn what was best for him, no one else was ever going to be able to tell him, because people just weren't getting it. Himalayan pink salt, which offers us the most minerals of any salts. I'm going to add quite a bit of that. We're going to just zhuzh this all up together. But anyways, my point was Jason, really with research and just looking into what could be best for your health, really got diving deep into the raw garlic, raw onions, and how good that can be for your health. So anyways, I think just with Jason needing to be more health conscious, dietitian or not, it's made it so much easier for me to eat healthier. And it's something to think about with your own family dynamic. Kids are kids, they don't always want to eat healthy, but getting your loved ones and other family members on board, I'm sure it makes Jason's life easier if I'm eating healthy, not exactly what he's eating. I don't think he cares that I eat exactly what he eats, but it's just so much easier in the household that I'm not constantly like eating chips and ice cream and just junk in front of him that he would love to eat, but knows it's going against what keeps him feeling as healthy as he can, which some days is like a 2 out of 100, like it's rough some days for him. So just something to think about too, your own perspective with your health, having gratitude towards that, and also supporting the people that you care about in a way. So we're gonna go ahead, look how pretty this is. You could totally do whatever veggies you want. This just spoke to me this week. So I've got the oven preheated at 400 degrees. I'm gonna pop this in here. I like my veggies like real cooked, okay? So I'm gonna throw it in there for 30 minutes and I'll probably flip it around halfway through. That should do it for the veggies, I think. Alrighty, this is where we're gonna start multitasking for the rest of our Nourish Bowl and also for dinner. The other carby part of my Nourish Bowls for lunch I want to use, and I can only find these either at like an Asian grocery store or at Trader Joe's. I'm trying to pick it up, but they're all falling out. These are the Muraskai sweet potatoes, Muraski, otherwise known as Japanese sweet potatoes. These are my favorite sweet potatoes, hands down. I'm a little picky with sweet potatoes. These ones just have such a better flavor to me and still boast a ton of nutrition. I am a little weird. I actually really like these in the microwave. I could totally cook these in the oven, but I just really like them in the microwave, you guys. I'm sorry, but I do. So, I'm not an anti-microwave person. I know some people are, but how I do it is I get them wet, I clean them, I slice them like you just saw. I take 2 paper towels that are wet and have some cauliflower on it, and I just roll them up in their little blankets, and I'm gonna throw them in the microwave. So these sweet potatoes, I remember someone being like, if you don't eat regular orange sweet potatoes, you're not getting any nutrition. That is the biggest lie. These sweet potatoes, while maybe not as high in vitamin A, still have a ton of vitamin C. They have potassium in there, and they also are high in fiber. You get a lot of volume with potatoes like this, and I find them so much more filling than eating something like rice, which would be another carbohydrate equivalent. So when I'm trying to make those easy swaps to feel more satisfied, potatoes are always it for me. So I'm gonna throw these in the microwave for like, they're kind of tiny. I'm gonna say 6 minutes. Next, we're gonna do organic ground turkey burgers. You could definitely go with a leaner turkey. I have just been on my organic ground turkey loving era, if you will. So I really do like them, and I just understand that it's gonna take up a little bit more fat in my diet than other protein sources. We're not gonna put those on there, but what we're gonna do is I'm gonna heat up a pan on the stovetop. I'm just gonna make them into 4-ounce patties and cook those up. Now I'm not gonna add any spices, any seasonings. There's definitely, I have some fun turkey burger recipes on the channel, but because I'm doing this in a Nourish Bowl with all the other flavors, I'm just gonna keep these plain in case I change my mood this week and wanna switch up what condiments I top it with. So we're just gonna keep these plain. I'm cooking them on the stove. I use just a little olive oil spray, which a great question that got brought up in the inner circle not long ago was asking if and how you should measure your cooking sprays when they're listed as, 0 calorie, but it's like, for a 14th of a second of a spray, something like that, that makes no sense. And essentially my answer, or how I go about business in that department, is I don't count olive oil spray. Yes, it is olive oil. You're still using regular olive oil, but you're using it in such a smaller degree when you spray it like that. I don't use anything crazy in terms of the amount I use, sometimes more than others, but essentially it's one of those things that I just don't track because it's kind of hard to really measure it and, really nail down. I want to say even when I was in bodybuilding prep, which was you really had to track every morsel, that was something that I don't think I ever worked with a coach that said you got to track or watch how much olive oil spray you're using. So actual olive oil, that's another story. I do track it. As you saw, I used a tablespoon on those veggies. I will divide that by the serving size. Avocados and spinach are 2 other things that I'm gonna add into those Nourish Bowls, but I don't really need to pre-prep those, so I've got them out so I don't forget about them, but I'm gonna set them aside. We're gonna move into my dinner meal, which we're gonna try a little something new for dinner. And we are so lucky because fresh from Joe Chajikowski Farm LLC, we have his zucchini noodles. Thank you, Joe, for your farmed out zucchini noodles. We're gonna do a little shrimp pasta. I have regular pasta, but in effort to increase the veggies, increase the volume and the fiber this week, we're going all in on our whole foods and our veg. I don't have a spiralizer, and so I do just prefer paying more and getting these zucchini noodles. So those we're just gonna cook up on the stovetop. I've got the red Argentinian wild caught shrimp from Trader Joe's. This is my favorite by far. So I've got that in a bowl. I'm gonna let that thaw out just a bit more with a little running water in the sink, and then we're gonna air fry these. I got some pesto from Trader Joe's, which is definitely a high calorie, high fat option. However, I'm not gonna use a lot of it. A little bit of pesto goes a long way. The serving size here is 1/4 of a cup. Not gonna use nearly that much. But I did want a little bit of that pesto flavor, and also didn't wanna be bothered trying to make homemade pesto today. I wanted to keep it quick, keep it moving. Got some little tomatoes. We'll cut those up. That'll also go in our pasta. So lunch is cooking. We're gonna get this defrosting before we put it in the air fryer. Flip the turkey burgers and flip the veg. Mama Guzman always makes it up. This turns out so good. So we're gonna do just some raw spinach in here. I feel like even if you're not someone that likes raw spinach, it can be hard to eat if you don't like the flavor of it. Just finding stuff to mix it in with, you don't even taste it. Just eat it in a good bite of something else that tastes good. So I don't know, at least that's what I do. I personally do like spinach, but I will eat more of it if it's mixed in with a bowl. Just adding my potato to the spinach, I did about 100 grams, give or take. You can do whatever works best for you. And yeah, we're gonna wait to add the veg and the turkey burger and the avocado last. Let's get our zucchini noodles cooking on the stovetop. Like 30 grams of avocado, we're just gonna plop it in there, save the rest. I almost feel like a phony trying to make these recipes because Jason perfects it all, you know? He's perfected the shrimp. I've taken them out of there and I'm just gonna over the garbage, I'm gonna try to get as much water out of these guys as possible, so just wring them out, all right? Ladies, like you would your hair when you get out of the shower. I'm just gonna try to get all that water out of them. If you skip this step, you can, but I just feel like your shrimp will not taste as good. For our shrimps, got them on a paper plate. I'm just gonna use some of the extra virgin olive oil spray on them. Mrs. Dash tomato, basil, garlic. If you know, you know. We've been using this for, I don't know, over 10 years now. It doesn't get old. It just flavors things so well. I'm gonna use quite a bit of that. And I'm also gonna use a little bit of pink salt too. And then we're gonna throw them in the air fryer. I personally like shrimp fresh and hot right out of the air fryer, but this is another one that I enjoy after it's cooked and cooled in the fridge. Like I can eat a cold shrimp pasta. That maybe doesn't sound good to you, but it sounds good to me. So I'm just gonna mix these all around, make sure they're all seasoned up. I'm gonna put these in the air fryer, air fry mode, 400 degrees, 9 minutes. For our zucchini noodles, I'm gonna get those going because everything else is pretty much in limbo right now, just cooking off right now. These aren't gonna take too long. You can cook them as long as you like. Just gonna use the olive oil on the stovetop and just stir them around until they seem pretty cooked. Remember, if you're using zucchini noodles, they are intensely filled with water, so they will shrink down quite a bit. I definitely could have cooked up this whole thing, but I more so just wanted to show you one meal anyway, so it doesn't end up being a huge amount. I'm definitely gonna cook some more up after this, but let's finish out the dinner here. Like I said, I wanna add in this pesto, and a full serving, 60 grams, and I definitely don't need that much. I think I'm gonna use about 10 grams because that ends up being about 5 grams of fat. So still a very low fat meal. And then top it with our shrimp. And then I've got some tomatoes too. I like them. You could totally cook your tomatoes if you want. I just like the consistency difference to have something cooked and then also have a little fresh crunch in there too. Just everything's rolling everywhere on me. Shrimps, stay put. Okay. All right, friends, my meal prep is now complete. These are my main core meals for the week. I will definitely eat above and beyond this. You know, I'm still gonna have my Ghost Ninja Creamy at nighttime, but I wanted to share with you just something different for the week. I hope you found maybe some inspiration from these meals, or maybe just got some encouragement to get your meal prep done. Maybe you did it with me while you watched this video. Make sure you stay tuned. Next week is gonna be the final episode of Driven, so be sure to comment below your progress, how you're doing, and what you want to see in that last video. And don't forget, if you're enjoying these videos, share them to your socials. There will be one Driven winner awarded. It's not going to be me. It's going to be one of you who did the hard work all summer long with me. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.